Count Kareem, how you doing tonight?
Very good, sir.
Thanks. I guess my first question is, are you employed right now?
Yes, sir. I'm currently a college instructor. I have just under 300 students, and I'm currently teaching criminology and victimology this term
At the university?
at a university.
The police chief position. Why would you want to get back into law enforcement?
I never really left. The only difference is that now I'm teaching other people how to do it correctly instead of by the seat of the pants. I still hold a sheriff's commission in my county, and I provide, support to the sheriff. He's also one of my references as well. So I've never really left law enforcement, and I think one of the key things too is to let you know, again, as I said, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for the job, and that's much different. The reason that I might be willing to move 2,500 miles is not just to get a paycheck. It is because the town, I believe, offers some very positive aspects to it. You have a university, the whole thing that I've already talked about. Those things are appealing. If you look around the United States, there's a lot of towns that might be looking for a chief that don't offer a whole lot. And if I believe that I'm on the A team, I would like to go to a town that I believe is also part of the A team. I think this town offers that potential.
For my own reference, tell us about Sequim, Washington. I mean, what's the community like?
Sequim has a resident population of about 8,000 residents. It has a service population of about 26,000. It is routinely written up in Forbes, the New York Times, and a host of other publications as a destination retirement community. Now, that's not to say that nothing ever happens in Sequim and gee whiz, life is great for a bunch of retirees. It is also the retail trade center, as I mentioned, for about a 100-mile radius on the Olympic Peninsula. And it also has a certain amount of tourism connected with that as well. Just down the road, you jump on the ferry, and you're over in Victoria, British Columbia, which really is kind of the fine arts capital of the region. The town experienced some considerable growth about the time that I showed up. And the police department was in a position where it had been a small town, I'll say, kind of gone to seed. It was a reactive, basic policing entity. But they were also starting to have additional crime problems based on the growth and the influx of new people into the area. And so in that regard, I became the agent of change to rebuild that department and push it toward accreditation and into the 21st century.
How long were you the chief?
It's just under 6 years.
6 years. How diverse is Sequim, Washington?
Sequim itself is not real diverse. It's probably 98% white. And I would say that, again, one of the things that I find appealing about Columbus is that it is a diverse community. I grew up in the Bay Area. And in growing up in the Bay Area, for many times, I was the minority as a kid growing up. And I just took that for granted. One of the classes I teach is multicultural policing. And lots of times I've done that both in ground classes and for online as well. And in the ground classes, here comes a white guy into a class of 35 college students. The first thing that somebody will say is, what in the world do you know about diversity? And so I tell a story about my family. During the Depression, my parents, my mom's family was in New York. My dad's parents were in Georgia, which is another reason why I'm kind of curious about the South. My mother's father, my grandfather, became a plant superintendent for what is now Weyerhaeuser in Longview, Washington. Pretty good job during the Depression. You're controlling a lot of jobs, in a really bad economy. What my grandfather didn't know when he moved out was that Longview and Kelso, Washington, was really the center for the Ku Klux Klan in the Pacific Northwest. Now, who would have thought that? Matter of fact, if you go to the County Historical Society, you will see black and white pictures of huge parades down Main Street in both those cities of Klan. My grandparents were Catholic. And for anybody who knows much about the Klan, you know that the Klan doesn't like Catholics. My grandmother was out pushing her two twins one day for a walk, and had gone to the Catholic Church to see the priest. Lo and behold, that also turned out to be a meeting for the Ku Klux Klan one day. And they surrounded the church, and now my grandmother and my two uncles are trapped with the priest with a Klan meeting going on outside. Well, one of the nice things about being the superintendent for Weyerhaeuser, suddenly there were a couple of truckloads of guys with baseball bats that showed up. And they rescued the priest and my uncles and my grandma. I use that in my classes because what I tell the students is, because I was white, you already made a value judgment and a stereotype judgment based on my skin color. That's lesson 1 for my class.
Wow.
Okay. Councilman Gavin.
Mr. Spinks, welcome to Columbus.
Thank you, sir.
We're proud to have you here. And so, well, I've got just a few questions. Some of these questions will be questions that we've already addressed and so forth. But I see from your resume and so forth that you have grant writing experience. Would you like to tell me a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I have grant writing both in a law enforcement sense. I think over the years, about $2.5, $3 million in grants, maybe a little bit more. And then also when I was the interim city manager, of course, there's a whole nother world of grants. And part of those grants, while I was not the person crunching the numbers, I was part of the team to make sure that those applications were successful. And so in that respect, that's probably, I think we got about $3 million in grants for the wastewater treatment plant, plus other things within that year. And you know, grants are great. I'm also involved in our nonprofit community radio station in Sequim. And feel free to tune in. You can do it on the internet, ksqmfm.com. And so I'm not afraid or intimidated by the media. And so in that respect, I've also done grant writing for KSQM. And of course, I have some oversight, really signing off on grant applications through Olympic Community Action Programs. Most of their $11 million budget is all grants and federal and state dollars.
How many actual years of experience in budgeting would you say you have?
Well, as an executive, I've got at least 12. And then as a supervisor in Snohomish, Washington, I worked on the budget directly with the chief for 3 years.
What sets you above the other two candidates?
I'm bombastic.
I guess that's correct. I guess that's an answer.
You know, I don't think I'm necessarily above or below the other candidates. I think, you know, all three of the candidates, we all have about, 25, 30 years experience. You know, most of, at least two of us have graduate degrees. We've all served in a multitude of positions and responsibilities. I think a lot of it is just your leadership style, and I think that's what I offer. Unlike anybody else, you don't have to train me how to be a police chief. I already know how to do that. You don't have to train me how to do budgeting. I already know how to do that. I enjoy being out in the public. I enjoy selling the product of safety. There's a lot of things I can't do. I don't think I could sell used cars. My heart's just not in it. That doesn't mean that used car salesman isn't a great guy. I just couldn't sell the car if somebody said, well, that's probably, we can't afford that. I'd say, okay. And I would go hungry. But I can't get behind the idea of community involvement. And I can't get behind the idea of safety. And I can get behind the idea of partnering. Those are things that I have a passion for. And I think you're hearing a certain repeat or commonality. It's just how the three candidates present that out in the public. You know, we've talked, I think everybody's talked about, you know, ethics, integrity. Oh, we all buy into that. You know, we all buy into the fact that the backbone of police work is patrol. I think we share a lot of commonality, but it is who's going to be able to go out there in this community and give you change and leadership. And I think, quite frankly, I can do that more effectively.
The question that I asked the two previous candidates and so forth, do you have an experience, and how much experience do you have in homicides?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, you know, it's kind of sad when all three of your candidates say, yeah, we've all investigated multiple homicides over the years. And I have. And I've also investigated manslaughter cases and attempted murder cases and all of those things. And you asked each of the candidates, you know, what was their success rate? I was kind of surprised. My success rate's 100%. Now, that may just be the luck of the draw, you know. Yeah, some homicides, you kind of know what happened. And but I think too, one of the benefits I always had from major cases was the support of the community. And I think that's critical. When I say partnerships, 70 cops by themselves, if you completely relegate all of your safety to 70 people, divide that by, you know, 2 or 3 shifts a day, you know, days off, vacations, training, injury time, you know, how many is that really effectively? Is it 20, 24 hours a day at any one time? And those 20 officers are going to be your first responders and solve all the problems of a town of 25,000. Honestly, that's the old model. That's called the professional policing model. And it was highlighted. Everybody remembered Dragnet on TV. Joe Friday, we're here, we'll take care of all your problems. Go back inside your apartment. It's okay. That was the professional policing model. We're the police, we're professionals, we don't need you. We'll mess it up. Well, we found out that never worked. That was grotesquely ineffective. You know, community policing, the philosophy of that is that you have enough police officers to where they're doing more than just running from call to call or doing an investigation. That somewhere along the line you have the ability to reach out to the community, the business community. Maybe you need Business Watch here, I don't know. Maybe you need to expand Neighborhood Watch and Community Emergency Response Team training, I'm not sure. Maybe you need to have volunteers in police service in the program. I don't know yet. But I can guarantee it, having 50,000 eyeballs who are willing to pick up a phone or send an email or do anything is a heck of a lot more effective than 140 eyeballs of just the police department.